Take a trip to the past and learn the secret unrevealed origins of the Clown Prince of Crime. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Batman issue number 142, the kickoff to Joker Year 1, and find out what happens next together, shall we? So then, as we begin this brand new arc, first things first, whatever you think this story might be, I'm here to tell you you're wrong. Mainly because this isn't just your regular old-fashioned origin story. Oh no, this story actually takes place during multiple different eras in time. You see, as we join the book proper, we're actually in the distant future. How distant? Hard to tell, but we see an older Batman actually conducting an autopsy on a dead Joker. An older Bruce says that the Joker has always been like the devil to him, and how do you defeat the devil? Well, you can't. He'll always return, but he hopes that by cutting into him, he'll finally reveal his secrets. Oh, but there's more to the story than that. Apparently, before the Joker's death, he actually left Batman with a red pill. The pill is empty, though Batman notes that when he breaks it open, the capsules actually look like the mask worn by the old Red Hood gang leader, and surely this has some deeper meaning. It's after that we step back in time even further to the exact moment that the old leader of the Red Hood gang emerged from the acid of the Ace chemical plant, seeing that his skin and hair had been bleached, and his life changed forever. Now, we've seen this scene numerous times over multiple different Batman stories, but if this particular set of panels looks familiar to you, it should. And that's because we actually saw this moment already back in Volume 2 of this Chip Zdarsky Batman series through the eyes of Red Mask. In fact, this issue goes even farther by explaining that it was Red Mask's monkeying around with the multiverse that actually ended up giving birth to the three Jokers, as we see the Red Hood gang boss met by two other Jokers who he ends up getting into a massive brawl with, the implication being that we don't actually know who won the fight that day or walked away from it, if but one, the one we end up following for the rest of the story, actually walked away at all. It's after that we see the Joker accost a woman taking out her trash. He calls her Sally and he apologizes for everything he's done, saying that he thought he had the ultimate chance to make a better life for her and that it all ended up backfiring on him, only that woman's not Sally at all. That's just some random woman who the Joker ended up running into, assuming that it's a woman who I guess was close to him. Also, Sally wasn't the name of Joker's wife from The Killing Joke, so your guess is as good as mine. It's after that we end up jumping ahead a whole whopping 6 months. Yeah, I told you this comic jumps around a fair amount. We see that the Joker has locked himself away in an apartment building long enough for him to end up growing a full lime green beard. He says that up until now his actions made sense. He was doing heists, he was trying to get money, but he feels his mind changing, his motivations changing, he's growing darker, more chaotic. He thought that the madness had freed him from his fear, but he's more afraid now than ever. In fact, he's actively being accosted by the image of the old Red Hood gang leader in the mirror. And yet, despite all of this, it seems like the Joker is making an actual go at trying to re-enter society using makeup to cover up his pale skin. Now, it's after that we actually end up checking in on Detective Gordon. Yes, detective, not commissioner. This is still only after the events of Zero Year, which are still in continuity according to this story. And it would seem that following the death of Commissioner Loeb, there's a brand new interim police chief named McCloud. He doesn't much care for Gordon, and he especially doesn't care for his worship of vigilantes like Batman following his takedown of the Red Hood gang at Ace Chemical. We also meet another detective by the name of Manny, who's dirty as the day is long and is instructed by McCloud to make the Gordon problem disappear. Honestly, I'm just happy to see Gordon back in a Batman comic. Feels like it's been forever, right? Now, so far this has all been pretty straightforward, but it's after this the comic gets really weird. We flash on over to the future once again, wherein we see that at some point in time, Batman figured the only way to lock the Joker up and actually make it stick was to hook him up to some sort of machine that created a false reality for his mind to run around. And oh, don't worry, Batman made sure that even in his mind, the Joker always lost. And for a while, it actually did the trick. Even the brand new commissioner, Barbara Gordon, agreed that it was a good idea. Unfortunately, as is so often the case in these situations, there was an Arkham scientist and he just wanted to unlock the secrets of madness. And because of that, the Joker ended up escaping for the upteenth time and calling Batman for one final confrontation with him. Now, back in the past, we see see what became of young Joker when he actually tried to re-enter society. The answer is, it did not go very well. Basically, he couldn't keep his big mouth shut, and every time he thought he had a good joke, he just had to tell it, even when that meant insulting the biggest, nastiest biker at the bar. Joker ends up getting the absolute crap kicked out of him, and there's a good chance these guys might very well have killed him were it not for the late intervention of Brian. Who's Brian? Well, he actually worked for Joker in the Red Hood gang. Turns out a lot of the old goons actually still respected their old boss for being so smart and so driven. They all assumed he died that fateful night at the Ace Chemical plant, and ever since then the gang has actively ended up going in a different direction under a man called Number 2, who, you guessed it, was Joker's own Number 2. But it just doesn't stop there. The Red Hood's defeat has actually ended up causing a major power vacuum in the Gotham underworld. Now several new gangs have risen up to try and fill the void, including the Black Hoods, who are literally a group just stealing the Red Hood gang's playbook, as well as, get this, the Grey Ghosts. We see a young Batman step on in to make short work of the gangs, and in his conversation with Gordon we realize that basically this is all he's been doing for the last 6 months. That, and also trying to find whatever happened to the mysterious Red Hood's leader, whose body was never actually recovered from the acid. Gordon is already on edge, saying they just dealt with the Riddler crisis, they've got copycat gangs, and now they have to worry about some criminal genius running around with acid burns. It's at that moment too when Batman ends up leading this conversation, Joker actually sees him overhead, and he ends up having one hell of an unexpected reaction. His mind actually starts going to war with itself. All throughout this issue we've actually heard Joker's internal monologue be a lot more sane and a lot more skittish, while the Joker who's actually talking says that he is chaos, and that chaos need not be afraid. It's at that moment probably the most interesting thing in the entire issue happens. You see, ever since the bar, a mysterious figure has been stalking the Joker. This man, we discover, is actually Dr. Daniel Capito, a character that you probably have no idea about if you didn't read Zdarsky's Batman origin story, The Knight, which is now canon. Long story short, he's a Timothy Leary-style psychologist who believed in expanding and advancing the human condition. He was one of Bruce's original teachers back when he was studying to be a hero. Only he was a total a-hole who basically told Bruce if he wanted to be everything he wanted to be, he could only do it by jettisoning all emotion and basically becoming a cold psychopath. And it would seem he's still pissy about it all this time later, and now that he's seen the Joker, he thinks he sees the ultimate path to revenge by helping the Joker become all he could be. Now that's all pretty wild, but we're not done yet, because as the comic comes to a close, we once again check back in the dark future following the Joker's escape from Arkham. According to Batman, Joker had actually managed to corrupt Duke, one of his sidekicks, and use his metahuman ability to steal all the light from Gotham City. That's all pretty bad on its face, but moreover than that, he used the cover of darkness to spread a brand new laughing sickness that turned everyone who caught it into Jokers themselves, and it's on that shocking note right there part 1 of this story comes to an end. And so that was Batman issue number 142, Joker Year 1 Part 1, everybody. And I gotta say, coming into this book, I had no idea what to expect. Historically, whenever people try and go back and give the Joker an origin, it's almost always a bad idea because, you know, he's so celebrated because he doesn't have an origin. His backstory is a multiple choice question. But if there was ever a writer I would trust with this kind of material, it's definitely Chip Zdarsky, especially following the excellent Batman the Knight, which as far as I'm concerned is the new gold standard for Batman origin stories. And hey, how about that Joker Year 1 is basically a sequel to The Knight? Hell, with the reintroduction of Daniel Capito, we now officially know that Batman and the Joker at some point in their lives actually had the same mentor, which is a fascinating idea. Hell, I went back and read issue 7 of the Knight series, and basically everything that Capito is saying in that story is straight up super applicable to the Joker. Almost like Zdarsky always knew he was going to tell this story. That in and of itself is compelling enough, but then you add the extra layer of this future story with Zdarsky basically saying that he's also going to tell us the story of the final confrontation between Batman and the Joker. That's what got me really invested. Of course, we've also set up some sort of Matrix mind prison for the Joker too, and I wonder if we're going to end up getting the rug pulled out from under us at any point. While I certainly think issue 1 is good and strong and has a lot of really fascinating ideas, I feel like this was always going to be one of those stories that we can only really judge once it's set said and done to see whether it sticks the landing or not. Which, ironically, is also how I felt about everything that's been going on with Failsafe and Zur and Ah in this Batman book as well, which hilariously Joker Year 1 is giving us a break and some distance from. Overall, I think I'd feel comfortable giving this one an 8 out of 10, and what's super nice too is that this one is actually going to be coming out on a much earlier schedule than the other Batman books, so we know they're not going to string us along for any longer than we have to, which I personally appreciate. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest, that's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.